We're here today to talk about proper spray application technology principles. Now, proper spray application is really important for several reasons. First up, it's going to ensure that the plans we spent all winter preparing are implemented successfully. Secondly, we really want to maximize our yield per acre. Lastly, we have to ensure that we're maintaining the sustainability of our crop protection products. We have topic experts Jay Whitcup and Dennis Sullivan from John Deere and Dr. Mark Ledson from Syngenta here to walk you through the 5 topics to consider when applying your products to your fields. These topics are boom height, proper nozzle selection, spray volume, spray coverage, and spray drift management. Let's dive in and explore these 5 areas.
One of the key considerations for spray efficacy is maintaining proper boom height above your intended target. The reason for this being is the product coming out of those nozzles typically does not actually simply go straight down if you're utilizing a fan nozzle. That product is actually coming out of that nozzle to develop a fan pattern to spread out to get complete coverage. And that fan is actually overlapping with the nozzles that are next to it. And what that means is, as your boom moves below the intended target height, that fan does not have enough time to develop the complete width to provide the intended overlap between various nozzles. This is going to result in inaccurate product placement and typically underrate applications, which you will see come through in the end result. On the inverse of that, if your boom height is getting up too high, you will see that you are again having unintended product placement because we are not maintaining the proper angle, and you will also likely notice an increase in driftable fines as that product now has more time to travel through the air and move off target. The 2 key considerations when you're working to identify the target height are the nozzle fan angle as well as your nozzle spacing. On this machine today, we are running 110-degree fans with 20-inch nozzle spacing. For proper settings based on your configuration, consult your nozzle manufacturer's catalog as well as your product label.
It's important to choose the correct nozzle to make a product application for 2 main reasons. 1, the correct nozzle will allow you to get good efficacy from the spray, and 2, it will allow us to mitigate the risk of off-target movement of the spray or spray drift. The first thing to do in terms of determining what the correct nozzle is to refer to the product application label. And the product application label will give you information about which nozzle to apply the product with. Nozzles are categorized according to spray quality, or in other words, spray droplet size. And so when you refer to the nozzle catalog, you will see for given spray pressures, medium quality or coarse or very coarse sprays, and the label will indicate which of those spray qualities is needed to apply the product. Typically, the main differences are for contact acting products, we need excellent coverage, and that means that we want to spray with a relatively smaller droplet size, so for example selecting a medium quality spray, but we also have systemic products that have some mobility within the plant, so they may have some translaminar activity or they may move within the vascular system of the plant. And for those products, we don't need excellent coverage. Good coverage will do. And so we may need a coarse or very coarse or extremely coarse spray quality for systemic products. And the product label will indicate where that's a requirement. Modern sprayers typically come set up with a turret like we have on this sprayer. And that turret will provide a selection of nozzles that can be easily set up to make the product application. So for contact acting products, you may well be looking to use a medium quality spray. So typically you would be using a standard flat fan nozzle like this nozzle here. Or for the systemic products, we may choose to use an air induction nozzle, which will give us great drift reducing properties by spraying larger droplets. So these air induction nozzles, like this here, actually incorporate an air port on the side of the nozzle body, and air is drawn in through that air port into the mixing chamber, which is within the body of the nozzle. And that action of the air mixing with the liquid from the tank mix creates a lot of turbulence. That turbulence results in much larger droplets being formed, and those droplets are also entrained in the airflow that is part of the atomization process, which means that those droplets are not only larger, so they may be coarse, extremely coarse or very coarse, but they also move to the target without the risk of spray drift. The turret will typically come with other nozzles as well, so in this case we have some pre-orifice deflector type nozzles that also give some spray drift reduction. So these nozzles may also be spraying either a medium or a coarse spray, but won't give you as large droplets as the air induction nozzles. It's very important to use the correct spray volume for the product application. As always, the first thing to do is refer to the product label to determine what the spray volume requirements are. And the reason it's so important to get the spray volume right is really twofold. So the first area of importance is the spray volume has to be matched to the target that you're spraying in order to get the best coverage of that target. So for example, if you were spraying a bare field, say a pre-emergent type spray, you can use a relatively low spray volume, say 10 gallons per acre or something like that. But if you were spraying a bushy crop, there's a lot more surface area in that bushy crop, and so you really need to use a higher spray volume in order to get appropriate coverage for that more bushy target that you would be spraying in that instance. And then the second area that's very important around spray volume is around the concentration of products that are used in tank mix. So the tank mix needs to be dilute enough that none of those products interact with each other and cause tank mix compatibility problems. And the spray volume listed on the label will ensure that no tank mixing compatibility issues will occur. So as always, refer to the product label and ensure that you're using the correct spray volume.
When it comes to achieving the best spray efficacy, a key area of focus should be on your spray coverage. And when I speak of spray coverage, I really mean about accomplishing 3 different things. The first being hitting the target that you intend to hit. Next is really with what you intend to hit it with. And third is how you actually hit it and how that product interacts with that target. 3 other areas to focus on to really unlock and achieve those outcomes is first, your sprayer boom height. And that is really key to ensure that we allow time for that spray pattern to fully develop until it interacts with the target. The next is our carrier and product volumes. Sometimes we tend to think running a little bit lighter of our carrier might allow us to get across acres a little bit faster and be a little bit more productive. But actually, we're going to likely cause unintended consequences resulting in poorer control, and really it's going to hurt us in the long run. And then third is really around that nozzle selection. Typically, a finer droplet will provide better coverage, but also is at higher risk. So we really need to focus on reviewing our product labels and working with the nozzle manufacturer's catalog to ensure that we are selecting the best nozzle solution for our application. A great first step to really understanding what your current spray coverage looks like is to leverage water-sensitive paper. You can lay a few samples down, take a pass across them with your machine, and really see what that pattern and that contact is looking like.
Spray drift management is very important for product application for 2 main reasons. And the first reason is that when you make the product application, you really want the product to land on the target to which you're applying it, and any of the material that you're applying that moves off target is obviously potentially going to reduce the efficacy of that application. But the second and possibly more important reason is that any material that moves off target could potentially damage non-target crops or drift into areas where you don't want the product to land. And in order to ensure that spray drift doesn't occur, there are a number of things that we can do to ensure that doesn't happen. The first and probably most important is around spraying larger droplets. So we know that larger droplets are much less prone to drift off target, and smaller droplets are more likely to drift. So if we spray larger droplets, that's a very effective technique for mitigating spray drift. The second thing that can be done is to pay close attention to wind speed and direction. So in terms of wind speed, we don't want the wind to be too high, which promotes high levels of spray drift. And also we want to ensure that the direction of the wind is such that it's blowing away from any sensitive non-target areas. We also need to be very careful that we don't make the spray application when the air is still. So we don't want still air or conditions of thermal inversion when we make applications, because that can be bad in terms of vapor drift. It's also important to be cognizant of the fact that the speed of the sprayer can have an impact on the amount of spray drift that occurs. And the reason for this is that the higher the speed that the sprayer is going through the field, the more likely it is that you will get turbulence and wake effects behind the sprayer that promote spray drift. So keeping the speed of the sprayer down to lower speeds is important. Product labels contain a lot of information on spray drift management, and all of the points that I've just mentioned around spray droplet size, wind speed and direction will be listed on the label.
The conversation about spray application technology should not stop here. Please reach out to your local Syngenta representative and have the conversation about how proper spray applications can influence your farming operation.